So apparently when I said that making video games is just a pipe dream that's never gonna happen, um, I lied, apparently, because I have discovered that the first effects of estrogen are learning coding. It's not any of the stuff that is talked about in like any of the medical papers. It's coding. And 15 days after starting estrogen, I am taking coding classes so I can learn how to make video games. And it's just like, I'm glad that I'm finally gonna be doing something, but like, oh my god, I wish my brain would just chill out and like stay on one topic for any amount of time. It is so confusing to me how I don't have ADHD. I have been tested for it multiple times. I don't have ADHD, but like for this entire month, I've been getting new ideas for various stories and wanting to write so many of them, but not having the time to plan them out before I think of something new, and only want to do that new thing. And it's frustrating. I wish I could focus on one thing, but I just can't, and I don't know why. And it definitely doesn't help that all of them are like very large scale things. I have never liked making small scale things or really been able to make small scale things and stick with them for more than like 2 months. And I don't know why that is, but I think it might be something to do with the stuff that I consume. Because like the stuff you make it reflects the stuff that you consume, and a lot of the stories that I consume are very large scale things that are happening. But also it's because, especially as a kid, I had an extremely overactive imagination. And a thing that I came up with as a kid is still the base of like all of the stories that I have today. It doesn't look very similar, but it's still technically the same thing. And that's just so weird to think about, especially because that idea that I got as a kid came from seeing a giant like crucifix behind a pastor at church during like an Easter thing. And then my grandparents that I was spending the day with having a conversation during Easter dinner about like how people are stupid for thinking that God is evil. Basically, I don't really know. I kind of tuned out of the conversation pretty early on because I honestly didn't really care. Um, but also because I was spending like the rest of dinner like putting together all of those thoughts and somehow from seeing a big crucifix and hearing people are stupid for thinking that God is evil, I somehow came up with God is a computer and is trying to reset the world because people are not like believing in it and it needs their belief in order to sustain itself. So when people start slipping in their belief and straying away from their paths, God just resets the entire universe so that people can keep being its food source. And I don't know how I got to that point, but either way, from that point on, my brain has never been quiet. I've run into a problem that I have so many settings and stories that are plotted out that I don't know which one I want to do first, and especially if I only have a chance to make one game instead of being able to make multiple of them, I feel like I need to plan for the first one I make being the only one I make, and only having one game to tell like the story through the medium that I want to in exactly the way that I want to, and give people the experience that I want them to have through that story, and then the rest of them will just be books, which is not as fun for me. And it's I have ideas for all of them in video game format because I originally created them to be video games. But I don't know which one I like the most. And like I also need to there's no way I will be able to make an entire like video game by myself, especially like one that's on the scale of the stuff that's in my head in exactly the way that I want to by myself. There's no way. But I also can't pay people to help me because I don't have a job. And I can't make money off of YouTube yet. And even when if I do, it's not going to be enough to like pay people in like a fair way. So like I wouldn't feel like comfortable with having people work for me without me paying them, and like being told all of the stuff that I would need. Um, anyway, my rambling is done. Um, I don't have an outro. Goodbye.